Fantastic, fantastic. Good morning, everyone. Good morning from Los Angeles to my people in Las Vegas, Reno, Los Angeles, San Diego, Orange County. I really appreciate it. And you were part of the Breakfast of the Champion again with Regency Wine Nevada and Hillside Wine and Spirit. You know, then this is a great opportunity for us to show you some of the new wines that we have or new release that we have in our portfolio. I want to thank you very, very much to everyone to make the time today to be a part of this meeting for about an hour. As you know the rules, we're not going to talk about prices. We're just going to talk about the quality of the wine, and we're going to discover this Brutocao family from Mendocino. And we will talk about prices at the end. If you stay tuned, we will get you the great deals. So let's have a beautiful time this morning. Again, you're all welcome to ask any question during this meeting, either way through the chat box, or you can wave your hand and I will let you in to ask your question, and obviously to be sure that we answer properly to you. Again, thank you very much. I want to start the meeting with the traditional way to do it, which is pour a glass of Chardonnay to your glass. We're going to raise our glass for the community, for all of us working the hospitality business right now and the retail. We all know that it's not an easy time, but we're doing it. We're resilient. Thank you again to this community. Cheers to you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. There we go. Delicious. Breakfast of the Champion. That's what we love. Let's introduce to you our guest. Very, very appreciate. And Steve Brutocao, the owner, CEO of the Brutocao Family Estate in Mendocino, is right here with us. Thank you. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
And I want to thank everyone as well to be here, but let's introduce you to us, Milone, which is the winemaker at the Brutocao family, which is also part of this meeting this morning. Thank you so much, Us, to be part of this meeting this morning.
No worries, Bruno. Good morning, everybody from Hopland, California.
Good morning, Us. Really appreciate your time here. Let's start the meeting. Let's talk a little bit more about your family, Steve. Steve, tell us your family background, your history, where when the family starts the wine growing, and tell us what your family did bring over to California.
Sure. Well, you know, again, thank you all for being here. This is a great turnout. We weren't sure how things would go, being it's a holiday weekend and you guys are also busy. So really very much appreciate all of you here, and it's wonderful. So the family, my grandfather came from Italy, Treviso, Italy, near Venice in 1910, immigrated here as a young child, spent some time in Canada, and then moved to Southern California in 1949. He fell in love with the warm weather and the orange trees that are no longer there. For all of you in Los Angeles know that, but moved out to the San Gabriel Valley, Covina. I actually grew up in West Covina, and moved north to the vineyard and winery probably in the mid 90s. So that's my grandfather and my grandmother on the Brutocao family side. On the other side of the family was the Bliss family, and Grandpa Irv Bliss, born in 1899, native Californian, grew up in the Bay Area, Watsonville, another farming community. Went to Berkeley, was a metallurgist, and sat in an office for 3-4 years, and finally said, I don't want to do this anymore. And he picked up his family and moved north to Healdsburg and started farming. And he farmed a variety of different things. And he had some cattle and some sheep, and eventually got into grapes. So my mom, Marty, who's still with us, still lives on the property in Hopland. So it was Irv and Lona Bliss were her parents, and in about the mid 70s, Grandpa Bliss wanted to retire and play golf, and moved to Southern California, and my dad and his brother got involved in this aspect of the family business. So previously, and some of you might even have ever seen a Brutocao engineering truck in Southern California. That was our family. Did that for 40 years, built freeways and bridges in Southern California. My brothers and I all kind of moved to the winery region in the mid 90s and got more involved in that aspect of the business. So it's a family affair. One of our labels says, you know, family farm, 4 generations. That's very true. One of the things you'll see on some of our literature is just every aspect of the wine, whether it's, you know, growing the grapes. My brother Len is our vineyard manager. My brother David is our director of winemaking. He and Haas work very, very closely together. I'm kind of the marketing and administration end of the family business. I was at an account one time, and the distributor, you know, person in Bruno's position said, you know, Steve here is kind of the face of the winery. And the guy looked me in the eye and said, damn, those other guys must be really ugly. And so, you know, we'll take that. But anyway, my nephew Kevin, so the 4th generation Kevin, does all of our marketing material and whatnot. So it's truly a family business, has been for many years. And every wine you're going to taste today is an estate bottled wine. We on occasion buy a little bit of juice here and there for a special project, but everything we do in the Wish label and our other labels, all estate grown and produced. So, you know, we're happy to continue to, you know, to be a family business in a industry that's ever changing and becoming corporate owned. And it certainly has its challenges, but, you know, we embrace it and we are proud of our region. So Grandpa and my mom grew up in Healdsburg. He had ranches in Sonoma County, and he also had our ranch in Mendocino County, Hopland, which Haas referenced earlier. Hopland is about 20 minutes north of the Alexander Valley. So we're very close. As the crow flies, it's about 7 miles. But we're Mendocino County, and we're proud of it. We love the wines we produce, and Haas will get into all the stories of the different terroirs and the different microclimates within our own ranch, frankly, and you know, different valleys and whatnot. And oh, there goes Bruno. He's screen sharing. There you go. Anyway, so yeah, you can see the 3 different ranches we have in the Hopland area. So that's if I touched on everything, that's a bit of the family history. And Haas came to us from Ferrari, a long career at Ferrari Carano in 2009. We hired him and gave him these wonderful 2008 wines that if some of you might remember, 2008 was a tough year, especially in Mendocino County for smoke taint. And we said, hey, Haas, come on in. We got a challenge for you. And the first wines he tasted were from our harvest in 2008. So he did a great job, and he's still here. So I didn't piss him off too much. But he'll tell you a little story of his family connection to the area, which is wonderful. And yeah, so that's a little bit of the family story. I'll pop in and out and ask questions and
nice.
Go from there.
I'm just going to recap very quickly for the people to get the spot about the presentation. 1910, when the 2 families get together. 1980, that's why you start doing your own production. The whole winery, I mean the whole estate, it's about 400 acres. You have about 170 acres, I believe, plant. You obviously have different vineyards, as they all in Mendocino, except then you have in Mendocino, you have Anderson Valley, where you have some Pinot Noir as well. Obviously, us, Milone, then we're going to introduce you in a minute, start in 2009 to make the winemaking, and that's what we're going to talk. All the property is sustainable, correct?
Yes.
Sustainable. So we're going to talk a little bit more about this, about sustainability and the estate in general. But let's introduce to us, Milone. Thank you so much, Steve, for the presentation. Us, good morning. Thank you to be part of that.
I think Steve said enough, Bruno. I'm going to sign off. You guys can just taste the wines and have a lot of fun. I'm going to go drink beer in the hot sun right now.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Thank you guys for taking the time today again. You know, for our retail partners, our on-premise people, it's been a really, really tough year. We're here to help support you guys as much as possible. So hopefully we're all going to get back to somewhat normal.
Yeah.
So again, my name is Haas Milone. Haas is actually a nickname. It is after the Bonanza character. My immigrant Italian grandfather nicknamed me, or actually bought me a Haas Cartwright hat when I was 2 years old, and I had to grow into the hat. So that's kind of where the name comes from. Everybody asks. My actual name is Frank, but there's 4 other Franks in our family, so that's why Haas stuck. And I'll be walking down the street, somebody will say Frank, and I keep walking. My wife smacks me and says, Haas, they're calling you, they're talking to you. So yeah. So anyway, that's kind of where it goes back. I'm a 4th generation Hoplander. I've been born and raised in Hopland. I moved a whole 600 yards away from my parents' house. By doing so, I went to Australia first. So I kind of did a 10,000 mile loop and came back around. I went and worked to harvest at Australia, and I've worked all around. I've been out in the vineyard since I was 5 years old. I'm a 4th generation winemaker. I'm also here in Hopland. My brother and one of his best friends started our first commercial venture in a long time, which was Milone Winery back in the day. But my great-grandfather actually had a commercial winery back during just before Prohibition and through Prohibition, helping the sheriffs keep their wine supplies up during the whole time. So we have a long history here in this valley coming through. A lot of Italian heritage. It is actually Milone. I am Irish on my mom's side, but the majority of this body is Italian, trust me. So anyway, so we, the Italian heritage and making wine and growing grapes. And my father and my grandfather always had homemade wine. We were always making wine and had barrels in the basement or somewhere going along. So kind of been doing that my whole life. So that's what I know.
Okay, what can you tell us about where you're from, Hopland and Mendocino? Describe if we
Hopland's
Mendocino, tell us what you see in Mendocino.
Well, to find Hopland, it's you get on Highway 101 coming out of San Francisco, go over the Golden Gate Bridge. The first crosswalk you hit, which is 100 miles north, is Hopland. So we're actually, the 101 runs right through the middle of town. It's a total, there's like 800 people in this town. There's no stoplights, a couple of stop signs, but no stoplights. So it's podunk, and we like it that way. Mendocino County is very unique because we're actually one of the original North Coast counties. So it was Mendocino, Napa, and Sonoma County, which started the North Coast grape growers, or the North Coast AVA. Later on, Lake County and Solano County were added. So Napa and Sonoma are on our southern border. We actually border up to Sonoma County, which Steve references Alexander Valley. Like this morning when I was out walking the Zen Vineyard, I'm looking south at the fog bank that's being held off by the mountains, by this little ridge line. So Sonoma County is baked in fog right now, or most of the morning. Well, we're in sunshine. So there is a huge temperature difference for Mendocino County than it is for Sonoma and Napa, which is going to be a lot more fog. So we're a little bit farther north. But the thing is we still got that same cooling effect from the fog. So that's what makes Mendocino County so great, is that we get the heat we need for the spices, but we get enough cooling to where we can retain the acid, so those spices come through. So you still have a lot of flavor in the profile. Our vineyards in Mendocino County are mainly based in the southern portion of the county. Mendocino County was a large logging operations and a lot of and then fishery, of course, is part of agriculture up here. So, but as far as the grape growers, a lot of Italian immigrants came in, started bringing a lot of Italian varietals and planting those. Anderson Valley was more sheep in grazing land, and then back in the 80s they started planting some vineyards over there, and then you started seeing some of that action happening. So when you see the appellations here, you see the Anderson Valley where Philo is, and if you see the 101 that comes straight up through the main southern part of Mendocino County, and you can see where Hopland is and that whole area. So you see how most of the grapes are concentrated in the southern portion of the county. We're actually, I think, the third largest county in the state, or third largest county in the state. So there is a lot of property. It's quite an expansive piece of property here in Mendocino County. What we see though is that in our grape growing regions, we have such huge diversity. So Anderson Valley is going to get a lot more fog, a lot more cooling. So it's great for those cooler climate varietals and Pinot Noir, and that's when Roeder came in and started making sparkling wines, and that's when the Pinots and started taking off and becoming such a huge aspect of the Anderson Valley area. We're inland, we're able to grow almost every variety you can think of. We really can, and we concentrate on a lot. Even here for the Brutocao family, you know, we grow about 12 different varietals as it is. We don't label all 12, but we grow, but we use them for blending purposes. So, and you can see, oh, that's a great one. So you can see all the different areas. That's the Anderson Valley and the ridge line. So that's the islands in the sky. So that's actually what stops the fog from getting too far in, but that comes in, that's the Anderson Valley range coming off the coast there in Mendocino County. So in our area, in our vineyards, the soil types vary quite a bit. And we'll talk a little bit more about when we talk about each wine. We'll talk a little bit more about the soils and area influences that are coming through. But I mean, Mendocino County's home to me. I mean, and it's like, it's the perfect climate. It's the perfect place to live as far as I'm concerned. That's why I'm still here after almost 60 years. So.
Okay, great. Thank you for these details on that. Now, let's talk about the Chardonnay, the method of vinification of the Chardonnay, where the Chardonnays come from in the vineyard, and what exactly we try to do here with the Chardonnay making.
So this Chardonnay, so our Chardonnay vineyards come off the Bliss Ranch, which is we call it the home ranch or Bliss Ranch, and off our Felice Ranch. So you get a couple different soil patterns from that. The Bliss Ranch, where the Chardonnay's at, is a very rocky style soil. A lot more rock and gravel in it. So that's the Bliss Ranch. So it's kind of up on a benchland more. The Felice, where the Felice side is, you see that little red strip on the far side of the Felice Ranch, which would be towards the west. That is right next to Felice Creek. So there's a lot more loam actually in that soil. So it's a little bit more loamy. So it gives you a different flavor profile. Then on the Bliss Ranch, it's a little more gravelly. So it's a little bit more concentrated. These are cloned. It's clone 4 is the clone for both these vineyards. There is a little Italian clone over in the other side on Felice, but that didn't make it into this wine this year.
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in there real quick, Haas. The Italian, now this is how highly scientific we were back in the 90s, and I think it worked out for us. But the Italian varietals are all in that little section between the two on the Felice vineyard. There's a little
right here.
Yeah.
Thing that looks like the Italian boot, and so being an Italian varietals there, that makes perfect sense. So that's our science.
Got it.
I don't have, now it says my internet connection's unstable, so I'm back to you, Haas.
Actually, that was your mental capacity, Steve. That's why we work so well together. So anyway, the Chardonnay. This Chardonnay is a tank fermented Chardonnay. It does not see any barrel time, but what we do with that though is we do add oak alternatives to the tank during fermentation and afterwards. I like using, when I talk about oak alternatives, I'm talking about large format oak, not chips. I do not use chips. Let me be clear about that. I use full-size staves that go in, so you get the slower extraction just like you do from a barrel, because oak, not only, it's not the flavor I'm looking for as much as I'm looking for the structure. And that's where you get some of these different acids and these different compounds that come out, and the fatty acids that come out in that oak actually add structure to the wine, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a big hit of vanilla or that big, California style Chardonnay, which I don't really like anyway, so I don't want to make it. So what we want to do is that I'm out walking the vineyards a lot. Like I said this morning, I'm out walking the vineyards, and during harvest I'm walking even more. So when I'm tasting that fruit, I want that profile. I want you to be able to taste that same fruit that I'm tasting. I want you to be able to get that citrus note that's out in that vineyard. I want that terroir to come through. I want that little bit of, there is a little bit of a, I hate to say it, but there is an earthiness to this wine for me, and it could be described as a minerality, but it's more of a little bit of an earthiness, and I just kind of what that vineyard gives me. When we do malolactic fermentation, this is 100% malolactic fermentation. We use a malolactic bacteria that emphasizes citrus, not butter lactones. So you can still get those citrus notes. The yeast that we use gives it a hint of tropical along with those. So it's expressing both sides of that wine by doing that. And then the mouthfeel and structure is also coming from what we do is we let it sit on the lees. So not only does it have oak staves inside the tank that are free suspended, which means they just float around. We actually put a pump on that tank once a month and mix it and get the lees and shove that lees back up inside. So it's almost surly aged like it would be in a barrel, because we want those fatty acids to get broken down. So we want to cleave open those yeast cells. We want those fatty acids to break open, and that helps also with that mouthfeel and structure.
Good. And how long it stay on the lean? Like for like 6 months?
Yeah, it's about, for
days?
this wine, it's about 4 to 5 months usually on lees. You know, so we'll do what we call a rough rack. So once it's done fermenting, we'll rack it off and we'll leave the really heavy solids behind, but we'll leave the light fluffy stuff, which is all the dead yeast cells basically, and put that in the tank with it. And then we pump them, we roll that over, and as we blend, we make sure we bring that with it because we want that flavor coming in there.
Nice. Any filtration before bottling?
Yeah, we'll do a light cold stability on it. We've actually been cold stabilizing with another product, with the actually saves us on electricity a lot by doing that. It's like a gum Arabic. It's a natural gum that we add to it that actually, what it does is it keeps the crystals from forming. That's all it does.
Okay.
So what it does is it inhibits the formation of crystals. We do bentonite. We do a bentonite and an isinglass. So this is not vegan friendly or vegetarian friendly. So we do use isinglass in our whites and our rosés to help with settling. So that comes through, and in bentonite. But other than that, that's about all we do to this wine. I mean,
what is the production of the Wish Chardonnay 2020 that we just have in front of us?
What is I'm sorry, Bruno, I couldn't hear you.
The numbers of cases, on the numbers of balls, or the numbers of hectoliters that we done on the 2020 Chardonnay.
So on this wine, it's not a huge production number for this wine. If I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, we just bottled it not that long ago. This is probably right around about 2,000 cases. It's a smaller production lot, so it's not a lot. Good.
Good. I'm going to give the word to someone can describe me the Chardonnay, please. Someone is obviously in the tune right now to describe the Chardonnay for me. Can you wave your hand, please? We always the ladies are always braver than the guys. What's going on with this? Can we have anybody want to describe this wine, please? Okay, you know the rules. If you don't wave your hand, I'm going to pick someone. I hope that's not going to be too painful. Mark, do you mind to talk to us about this one and you're on the front of us?
Am I muted? No, okay, good.
You're good, thanks.
Hey, Bruno.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. No, I think Haas kind of hit it correct when he said the tropical tone. There's a tropical citrus tone right in front. I don't get a lot of the butter on it. I think the mouthfeel is actually pretty crisp and clean too. I think it's integrated. The acid is actually pretty balanced. There's not a lot of up front. There's a hint of minerality in the finish, but I think the wine is delicious. I know I would guess this wine would be in like the $15 price point wholesale, but I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, but that's where I kind of placed it. If it's beneath that, I'm surprised that it's at 2,000 case production, because that's a pretty small lot for a wine. I would think beneath $15. So,
thank you.
But overall, pleasantly surprised. It's good. It's actually very balanced. I like it quite a bit.
Well done, Mark. Thank you so much. And now, the word to our cheese queen, Diana. What did you prepare for us as far as the cheese and wine pairing?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, thank you to be here. Really appreciate that. Always a pleasure.
Of course. So this one actually was really fun. It is super balanced. It's got a nice sort of acidity there. Beautiful mouthfeel, beautiful sort of like creamy texture on this wine. So I actually chose to go with a 2-year aged goat's milk Gouda called Ballerina. The reason for this, it is actually, if you take the goat milk Gouda, those of you who have it, take it, and I hope that it's at room temperature, but take it and smell it, and you'll get some notes of like a nuttiness and like a little bit of like a toasted buttered brioche from the cheese. Once you introduce it to your palate, make sure you push your tongue up along the roof of your mouth towards the back of your top teeth while you're chewing. Activate that retronasal cavity, and you'll notice some cultured cream notes, slight buttery notes, a little bit of citrus, and a little bit of earth come through. So then when you introduce the wine while you have the cheese sort of nice and developed on the palate, they complement beautifully, sort of pushing a toasted nut right forward on the palate. Really beautiful complementary pairing here. And again, this is a goat's milk Gouda that's been aged for 2 years. So a little bit of a sweetness here that sort of contrasts a little bit of the acidity in the wine, but a really pleasant dynamic overall with the two.
Super, Diane. Always a great description. I really appreciate the input on that. Really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Everyone, this is the second wine now. So you have to finish up your Chardonnay. We're going to go with Pinot. I am going to, this is the Pinot 2019. If anybody can see that. And I'm going to have Steve telling us a little bit more about this Pinot very quickly, and then Os will give us more details about the winemaking. How long your family is doing Pinot Noir, Steve?
So yeah, Pinot Noir and Italian heritage don't exactly blend, but what the heck, it works. So we need to embrace that. We I would say, you know, okay, let me think this through. This wine, I think we first got into the Pinot Noir in this category in about the mid-90s when we bought the Felice Ranch. The Felice Ranch was an interesting ranch, and it was originally owned by the Kunde family, and they were Sonoma grapevines. They provided grapevine. Many of you may or may not know this, but they provided grapevines to many vineyards throughout Northern California, and they took this property and kind of made it into a sample. What was I going to say? Like a quilt. Kind of. It was kind of all spotted all over. We had Gewürztraminer in there at one time and whatnot. But there was some nice Pinot Noir, so we certainly kept that and expanded on that, on the kind of cleaned up some of the craziness that was out there, and there's a lot of nice Sauvignon Blanc out there. And I'll show you where the Chardonnay is and the Italian varieties, but the Pinot was there. And on the Bliss Ranch, we planted more Pinot. So this is all an inland Pinot. Again, you know, we do get warm during the day. We certainly cool down at night, and I think it shows. I think the warmth shows. Haas will talk to you more about the specifics of what happens there, but I think it's delicate enough to be proud to put, you know, to call it a nice Pinot Noir from a little bit more of a warmer climate.
Got it. Thank you, Steve. Us, tell us a little bit more about the winemaking technique here.
Okay.
Are you doing all steam, or you working on the grapes? I mean, what is the philosophy here?
Well, so just a little bit of reference. The picture behind Bruno is actually the Felice Ranch. So behind Bruno is the actual Sauvignon Blanc, and if Bruno was what Bruno would be looking at right now if he's standing in a vineyard would be the Pinot Noir. Yeah. It's tucked way up in the back corner, and it's actually probably the coolest part of that vineyard is that area where he's at up there. So winemaking wise, it doesn't matter what label that I'm making the wine for. It's all pretty much, it all starts the same. We're looking for ripeness. There is a 777 clone, a 667 clone, and 115 clone are the three clones that we primarily use on the inland. And the one is a Pomard clone, the 667. The 777 is a little more robust, so it likes inland a little bit more. So when we pick grapes, no matter what program it's for, everything comes in and it is destemmed only. We do not crush anything. We have the crusher wheels are actually off of the machine, so it only destems. So that way we get these nice big whole berries, and then from there very gentle, large lobe pumps, which pumps the berries or the must into a tank. And then while it sits in there, we do a cold soak. So for the first 3 days, there's no yeast, there's no inoculation. We just pump them over 4 to 6 times a day. We're trying to go after water soluble tannins, which is the skin tannins. They come out early if we do this, and it's kind of the Australian method of extraction. At the same time, they start breaking down the skins, and the seeds start falling out and drop to the bottom of the tank. And so then that way, once we start fermentation and alcohol gets involved, it's extracting out of the skins and not all of the seeds. We actually end up with a big fat seed bank on the bottom, which is alcohol, and seed tannins are alcohol driven. They extract from the seeds. Now we do, so then we'll, after about 3 days, then we'll go ahead, we'll inoculate and start the fermentation. And we use different yeast for different varietals for different reasons. And it's so I can have basically a spice rack to pick from. So when I'm putting all these wines together and I'm blending them, I can have, one lot is going to have a lot more fruit, one lot's going to have a lot more structure and mid palate. So again, you're picking these things and putting them together just like a chef in a restaurant. So we're doing the same thing, and that's, thank you for the compliment on balance, because that's what I'm always looking for. Because people always ask me about longevity of wine, and they think longevity means big tannins. It's like, no, longevity means balance. Because if you don't have acid with those tannins, you're not going to have any fruit left in that wine after 10, 15 years. So you want things to be balanced. So that's what we're always shooting for. So after this wine is fermented, we'll inoculate with a malolactic culture, depending upon what varietal. It's a different culture when it comes to reds, because I'm trying to promote different things. On Pinot, I use a malolactic culture, which is more kind of going to produce a little bit more fruits, a little more fruitiness to it. It's made for fruitier style wines. Being an inland Pinot, I want to establish a little bit more fruit, because sometimes the heat we get can kind of diminish that. But we still are able to hold all that acid, so at the same time, we don't lose too much of it. So that's the whole idea there. And then this wine will, this wine in particular, usually will stay. It's a tank. It's a wine that's made in tank. It does not see any barrel time, but we use oak alternatives to add that essence and to air. And we use a lot of aeration during fermentation to get that extraction we need. And then we select certain styles of oak, mainly French oak, because I do not like American oak on Pinot. I don't like American oak on Chardonnay either. When it comes to Bordeaux varieties, I like French oak, because I think you need that little bit sweeter style oak, where American oak can get a little harsher sometimes when it comes to those lighter style wines. And so then it'll age, and again, we don't mix these tanks as often, but they'll sit on that oak, and we'll keep checking on it. We'll rack them a couple of times from one tank to another, take the oak with it to give it a little bit of oxygen to help start binding up the oak into the wine and for it to start marrying in.
So about 2,000 cases production like the Chardonnay?
Yeah, all this label is not a huge production. It's we're going into it a little bit slow, but it's getting up there. We're starting, we'll see these case numbers starting to rise more and more. The ability to make more is there, but we also have a few other brands that we have to supply. So that's
yeah, no, but I want to keep it in the small production. 2,000 cases is good enough. We want to keep it small and pretty unique.
I don't think you'd ever see the production on these wines to ever get any larger than maybe 5,000 cases would be the max ever. And what you're seeing right now is everything that you guys are tasting here today is around about that 2,000 to 3,000 case production lot. So it's still gets pretty small right now.
Nice. Thank you, Ross, for this description. Okay, who's going to take the lead? Maybe I'm going to ask a lady now to come on board and help me out to do a little description of this Pinot for me, please. Is anybody up to it? Any ladies? 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to pick and choose. Here we go. So let's see. Vicky, you won today. Vicky, do you mind to talk to us about your feeling about this of this beautiful Pinot, please? Good morning. You have to unmute. Can you unmute?
There we go.
You are here. Thank you.
I'm here. When I first tried the Pinot Noir, I thought that there was some very pleasant, like the ripe red fruit. The roundness of it was very enjoyable. There was like a gentle amount of tannin, but still nice and clean, as you know one would expect from a Pinot Noir. I think it's really beautiful. It's really lovely.
Thank you, Vicky. Does anybody want to add anything to this Pinot? Sarah, same feeling? Unmute. Sarah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Nice. You're here. Thank you to be here.
Yeah,
Sarah.
I've got my notes, as I do every time. Very aromatic. Some of that fresh red cherry fruit, a little bit of cooked raspberry. I got some Earl Grey tea in the background and a lot of like dried flowers, potpourri, and some like cologne aspects. But as you can hear from my voice, I'm getting over a cold, so hopefully I'm breaking this down correctly. It's beautiful, very well balanced, super juicy, flirty. I just kept going back for more. So well structured, very nice.
God, thank you, Sarah. Diana, can you tell us what did you prepare as far as the cheese pairing with it?
Sure. So this time I chose to go California, California. So we're dealing with Humboldt Fog today, which is a California original. It's an American artisan classic. This recipe was dreamt up in 1983, came to the cheesemaker in a dream, where she wanted to make a cheese that sort of mirrored the terroir of the Humboldt County. So this cheese is produced in Arcata, California. Again, we're dealing with goat's milk. Even since I was a baby monger, like a baby cheesemonger, I have been pairing Humboldt Fog and California Pinots since the dawn of my time in this industry, because they are just such an easy, smart, fun, and like just kind of a carefree pairing. This is from Cypress Grove Creamery. They're in Arcata, California. Some of their Goudas have moved production over to Holland, but they still do their soft ripens and their fresh cheeses out of Arcata. And they have Nubian and Saanen goats, which are beautiful milk producers. You get a lot of, again, you're getting a lot of creamy notes here, tart, bright center. There's a little bit of proteolysis happening underneath the rind, which gives it a little bit more of a prolific creaminess and a slightly vegetal undertone. And when combined here, you just get a beautiful sort of marriage of flavor. So the wine really the acidity of the wine cuts through that really creaminess of the cheese, and they both just sort of saturate the palate and allow for both things to just stand out and have a beautiful sort of dance of flavor there.
Fantastic, Diana. Always. If nobody knows about Diana location, this is obviously the Green Valley cheese store in Nevada, in Las Vegas. Please visit her. She's always have amazing description, but she also have incredible selection. Please support the small business. And let's go over there all together for 4th of July and buy a bunch of cheese. Thank you, Diana. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Next, we're going to go with the third wine. We're going to go with the...
Hey, Bruno, before we go any further, I just want to tell, Sarah hit it on the nose, the potpourri. That potpourri is the one section, there's the one block of our Pinot Noir, which that potpourri or perfuminess comes through. And that's why we kind of culled it off a little separate to add it back for that. So very good job.
Where is the vineyard here? Where's the Pinot Noirs come from?
So this would be over on the Felice. If you go over in the very top of the Felice, right? Yeah, that right up in there. That's where that Pinot Noir comes from, is that little area right up in there. And it's the most eastern side up against the oaks on the side hill is where that potpourri comes from. It's from that little section up in there. So.
Nice.
Sarah is a professional.
Yes. We're all professionals. Remember, there's only one difference between a wine connoisseur and a wino. Wine connoisseur pulls a brown paper bag off the bottle when he's done drinking it to see what it was. Other than that, there's no difference.
Hey, Bruno, I want to jump in. Diana, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know anything about the cheese piece here. This is exciting and fun. And this is Haas and I being on the other side of the screen, kind of like what a lot of you guys are. I'm learning so much. I'm writing notes on cheese. I really appreciate that. Bruno, for bringing Diane in, and the rest of you already know that she sounds like she's a regular, but what a fun, cool place. Also, Humboldt Fog is probably, well, I might be going too far here, but it's north of us. It's 3 hours north of us. We're a northernmost county. Pretty much they grow a little bit of grapes up there, but I think we have a lot of people coming from Eureka and Arcata coming down to see us, and we're one of the first wine regions they come to. So we're very familiar with Humboldt Fog. When you said that was the one, I was like, cool, because that's what I would have bought, and I don't know anything about cheese. So really fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you to Diane again. She's amazing. She's our regular, and we're really very, very happy. Then she's here, can do this description for us. Again, she's in Vegas. Every time you visit Vegas, you want to have some cheese in your hotel rooms, you can go to her store, and she will definitely make the best selection for you guys. Again, let's move to the red blend. What can you tell us about this red blend, how it was made? This is obviously a new batch that we just released, along with the 2020 Chardonnay that you have in the front of you, and the Pinot Noir 2019. So this red blend is the heritage of the Italian family. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you're making this wine? Obviously, every year it changes, but each year we take one lot and we produce about 2,000 cases of it max. And what is the way that you make this wine? And tell us how you define each year how to make this blend.
So the best way for me to describe this wine is it's my garbage can wine.
Okay.
And I mean that with all love and respect.
Okay.
What happens is that when I'm making wine, when I'm making these wines and putting blends together, I have little bits and pieces kind of left over. And then we always have one main component that we do make for the red blend that we kind of add, we just kind of pick it out and then add to that. And it's the one wine that you're tasting today that actually gets barreled. It actually gets barrel aging in it. So this wine will actually see about 18 months of barrel aging because of that process. And we'll start putting these wines together. So this blend you're tasting right here today is 53% Zinfandel. It's about 24% Cab. And then it has a little bit of Primitivo, about 6% Primitivo, about 5% Sangiovese. There's like 3% Syrah, 3% Petit Syrah. Now, those last two are very important. We always like making sure we have Syrah and Petit Syrah in our red blends because they bring that little bit of earthiness and that spice. Petit Syrah especially has a nice spice character that it brings that usually pops towards the finish of the wine. So that's really good. And it varies from year to year. Sometimes it might be more Italian-centric. It will have a little more Sangiovese, be more Sangiovese-based than Zinfandel-based. This year it was Zinfandel based because it just the Zin worked really well and made a better blend. The winemaking, I talked to you about how our reds are made, talking about the Pinot, that's the same. That portion is all done. But for the balance for the rest of the wines that don't do a tank style aging, they go to barrel. And we select barrels based on the kind of the varietal and what we're looking for. So this wine, because it's a Zin Cab base, is the biggest amount of it. It's going to have a lot more American oak in it than anything else. So our Zinfandel is usually, on average, about 75% American oak and about 25% French oak. And of that, it's all our wines, depending upon the year, are anywhere from 30 to 40% new oak, believe it or not. So those, an oak, and it's a small cask, 60-gallon barrels, or 225 liters. And so what we do is then we put these lots in and we separate the blocks. So when I walk down a block of grapes, because within these blocks we have multiple soils in them, and it can go from very gravelly to very loamy to clay. And because of that, you get all these different flavors. And we pick those separately and we ferment them separately, so we can enhance those flavor profiles by using different yeast and basically in different oak. And by doing that, and then in the end, like I said, I get to pick and choose and put these all together. So again, we put this blend together. It's about 2,500 cases is what we're looking at usually. That's what we shoot for the red blend. So you're getting our barrel aged wine in conjunction, bringing them all together to give a unique flavor. Again, we're always looking for balance. We're not looking for anything to be too overpowering. I know when I was smelling this wine earlier, you can smell that it's a Zinfandel based, especially with that Primitivo. And you can see all those aspects coming together. The hardest part is that even if you have all these little bits and pieces, is sometimes they don't work with each other, and it's narrowing it down to make one lot of wine, and it's making a wine that is consistent with the wine you previously made. Because I don't want to make every year seeing this blend being so drastic that it's like, oh wait, this is a totally different wine. This doesn't work on my list. This doesn't work here. We're always trying to keep the wines very consistent, so you know what you're getting and you're working. Now, we're always working to improve quality. I've never made a wine that I'm happy with, and I never will, because I always find the flaws. I want to make sure I don't have those. And that's our biggest thing, is we want to make sure you're getting the best quality wine we can make, but a consistent flavor profile that on your menu, it's not going to change much for you.
Okay. Now, this wine is labeled as a non-vintage. Can you explain why your decision to put a non-vintage? It give you the flexibility of the blend. I mean, can you explain a little bit more about it?
Well, yeah, we go non-vintage because it gives us the flexibility of going across vintages. We don't have to try, because the rules are that if you have to be at least X amount of percentage within the vintage, we call it that vintage. And what we can do is that if we have wines that are older, so like there's some fresher wines in here plus older wines, and by adding the fresher wines to it, it brightens the fruit up and keeps that flavor profile the same and helps with the acidity. And the older wines are there to give you that structure and that base. So then that has that consistency. So that's the reason why we do that. So we're not limited. We only limit ourselves on being, estate bottled, and that's, we grow all these grapes. So we don't want to limit ourselves any other way if we don't have to.
That's right. My grandfather, I just want to have to say that we call that in France perpetual vintage. Perpetual vintage was used by the farmers back in France when they didn't have enough money to buy the barrels, the vessels. The wood barrels would cost a lot of money. So my grandfather always have 10 barrels. That was the only numbers of dollars or euro or francs and he can spend at the time. And those 10 barrels was for the cuvee that we were aging for like a year. And then on the new harvest, 90% of the harvest was coming in, and we will always blend a little bit, the 10% of it then was aged for a year from the barrels to our new cuvee or new harvest. That's what we call perpetual vintage. And it's a great technique in a natural way to make a more complex wine at a lower cost. Because we all know the cost of production is really toward the wood barrels. They cost extremely a lot of money. And that's what we call the perpetual vintage. So I think it's a great technique. Don't be afraid of the non-vintage. It gives you a better chance to have a better wine at a lower price. That's what I said to my people. And you can see, and then this one's really shining in the glass. We test this one with few people for the last month since we released the vintage, and we have an amazing feedback on it. But someone can describe this one a little bit better than I can do. Who is up to the task here? Can I ask someone to volunteer to talk to us about this red blend and their feeling about it? Anybody want to take the lead? Anyone? Pretty shy this morning, guys. Come on, this is all of July. Get ready. Let's do it.
That's my name.
Let's do it. I know it's breakfast of the champion, but somebody can describe those wines. Come on. Anyone?
There's one. There's Gordon.
Gordon, go ahead.
Who does it?
There we go.
Here you go.
Cool. All right, so I got fairly dark ruby color, which is really nice. The nose, to me, right off the bat, had a lot of bramble. So which is really a Zinfandel identifier for me. So it's pretty genuine to the varietal. I get a little dusty note and a hint of vanilla So probably with the barrel aging. In the mouth, I thought it had sort of medium minus acid, but a little more acid than tannin, pretty nicely balanced, but crisp red fruit, beautiful red berry fruit on the attack, like right in the mouth, boom, right off the bat. Good intensity. And then I thought it was a little bit herbal. It had a bit of hint of an herbal note on the finish, which might be the cab coming through, with a fairly long finish that had kind of a bit of a pepper note.
Nice. Well done, Gordon. It's a great description. But I know then Karen from Reno, Vino 100, want to tell us something about it. And I don't want to be the one just stop you to say it. Go ahead, Karen. No.
I'd like to say good morning to everybody. And how are you all doing today? These wines are really surprisingly lovely. That Pinot I thought was really juicy and delicious.
It's a nice light that you have over here with a lot of grape and a lot of balls filling down. That's a great background.
Why, thank you. That's my chandelier in my living room.
Nice.
I'm in right now, so you know, I didn't think you all wanted to see that.
Thank you, Karen. Karen from Vino 100, a huge supporter in Reno for us. Thank you, Karen, to support.
Love you, Bruno. Love you.
Thank you. Diana, I know you have prepared cheese for this one, so let's talk about it for a minute.
Yeah, this one actually comes from Corsica. So this is a direct import that I have directly imported from France. This is one of my most favorite cheeses. It's called
that's Corsica, not French. No, that's just kidding.
Okay, I know how you guys feel, okay?
No,
Let's put that aside. A lot of sheep are running around Corsica. So there's a breed called the Laclotte, and that is a beautiful, they have an ideal milk composition for cheese making. So because this is a Zinfandel base, this has a little bit of like a little bit more assertive, aggressive on the attack on the palate. Yes. Cyrus, Brind'Amour, correct. This is Laclotte use, and they are, this cheese is a little bit more supple and elastic, aged about 2 to 4 weeks, but its life cycle takes you about 2 to 4 months, meaning that it'll develop a little bit of surface candida and a little bit of blue mold, which is totally normal and non-pathogenic during its life cycle. But this cheese is 100% Laclotte use, so 100% sheep milk cheese. It is a little bit supple and elastic on the texture, and it's coated with rosemary, juniper berries, fennel seeds, sometimes herbs de Provence. There is a cousin of it called Fleur de Maquis, which is more often seen domestically, whereas Brind'Amour, not as common. This one is just a beautiful pairing with the red blend because as assertive as it is on the palate, this sheep milk can really stand up to that. Sheep milk has twice the amount of butter fat as cow's milk, so it really like sits low and heavy on the palate, which allows for the long finish of the wine to sort of continue to play together. The herbal notes that are on the finish of the wine are complemented nicely by the herbal crusting on the cheese. And the buttery fattiness of the sheep milk really plays beautifully with some of the spicy elements that you get from the wine.
Fantastic. What a great description. I really appreciate your help and the support on that, Diana. And thank you again. I really appreciate it. Everyone, I think we went through the description. Now, Steve, can you tell us a little bit more about the name of Wish and the little slogan that we have in the back label and how we decide to go with the Wish name?
So, and we honor this gentleman on our on our website and whatnot. Dave Bender was a gentleman we met. He's a good guy. He's a sommelier from Seattle, and we just had a business relationship to start. Golly, it's got to be 7-8 years ago, and he wanted to get into the winemaking and have his own brand, and we worked with him, and it was going well enough for him, but he struggled because he had a real job. He was a sommelier at a restaurant, and then he got married and had a baby, and he said, he basically came to us and said, I just can't keep doing this. And so we kind of absorbed his brand in a way, and we kept it true to his passion. This was his original label design. Bruno loves this design, and I think the rest of the team does as well. We have some other things we might get into, but some other designs that you guys might all see. Maybe I'll let you explain kind of where we are with that, Bruno, exactly. But Dave was just a good guy and really knowledgeable and wanted to follow his passion. And he didn't get to see it all the way through to the end, but again, we honor him. And so, yeah, in the back, this was his cool little saying, "Thee who has the bottle's final drips is entitled to a single wish." And so we like that. I think that's just cool. So it also encourages people to finish the bottle, right? That's what we're all here for.
Yeah, the last
Empty
drop.
those bottles.
The last drop.
The last
we have
drop.
a thing in France, and it's the last drop. Actually, if you finish up the glass or finish up the bottles of wine, you're entitled to the last wish. But one of the last wishes we have in France, and you get married during the same year. So who is not getting married yet or is thinking to get married, finish up the bottles today, and you will get your wish go through. Wish was a label that I met when I met with the Brutocao family. I represent Brutocao family. We do represent Brutocao family in Nevada. In California, we decided to go with the Wish label. I love the design of the Wish label, the black and white, for different reasons. But we work a lot with the restaurant by the glass, and we always thinking about the wine by the glass on the blackboard, and it remind me that. Also, a lot of speaking easy in the city, so remind me a little bit about the port design. And I believe the black and white it's very classy, and that's why we decided to go with this label, to be classy, to be the wine by the glass. And I believe Wish, just looking at the name of Wish, I'm part of the Wish Foundation. Obviously, I donate to this, and it's for me always pushing on to a bottle of wine and a Wish to the table. So I think you can do the same. I think then bring over a bottle of Wish to the table. To be in a restaurant industry will always bring a positive energy to you and a feedback that is going to be amazing from the clientele with this great value. I want to thank everyone. I'm very like to keep these meetings 1 hour straight. So I think we're about to be 1 hour. I want to thank again Steve Brutocao and the Brutocao family to produce those amazing wine from us. I want to thank us, the winemaker, and be part of it and to be consistent. And now we're working with the Brutocao family for the past 3 years now, I believe. And we are very happy about the consistency, about the quality of the wine. And that's what we want. Very proud to represent an estate family with European, Italian heritage. I want to thanks to the whole community. I want to thanks my salespeople, my sales manager. I want to thanks my sommelier, my wine director. I want to thanks everybody on board today to be part of this Breakfast of the Champion again. Then all together we can succeed, and all together we can make this hospitality business and this wine business to be a little bit more attractive and quality directed. So I want to thanks everyone. I want to wish you an happy 4th of July. I know we're all super busy, so I want to wish you as well to be strong, to be there soon in September. We have more people to help us to run the program. I know we're all understaffed, and that's why we're going to take a break in August. We will not do a Breakfast of the Champion in August. We will resume Breakfast of the Champion with new line of product launch in the market by the first week of September. Thank you again for everyone. Thank you to the Brutocao family. Thank you to the whole community. And if you're intriguing about those prices, stay tuned. We will announce those prices and special promotion in 1 minute. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Good. Stay safe.
Salute.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys.